So my name is Sonali Menon Govender, and I'm a managing attorney at Maynard Menon Govender Inc. So growing up, I grew up with my parents, of course. This is my dad's business, and I followed him around everywhere, into the courtroom. After university, I studied law just like him, and then I completed my articles at the law firm, and shortly after that, I found the niche area that I specifically enjoyed in the company, started to manage that department, and then I moved over into innovation and strategy within the firm. So the words are big, but really what it's about is identifying the areas in my dad's business which needs improvement, where I can ramp up efficiencies, where I can kind of cut down on costs, improve our profit margins, help to understand the needs of staff, help to understand his needs so that in the end when we go home together as a family, we're both less stressed, we have more time and flexibility to have good conversations without having the work from the day impeding on our ability to actually engage, especially when we head back home and my mom's dealing with both of us. So that's really where it stems from, and it's when I say innovation and strategy. My dream it's developed, it's changed. I mean, growing up as a kid, I would have said I wanted to learn how to fly, and then maybe I wanted to be a president. But as I've grown up, my dream's really about, I really kind of idolized my parents. And I think I learned very quickly that I didn't have to look too far to find inspiration. So my dream was to one day become a mum, but not just a mum where I have children who also look to me as a source of inspiration. And I can feel like I make that sort of impact where they also can look from the comfort of their home and feel just as inspired to be authentic in whichever way that is for them. My dad's more old school. When it comes to accounting, when it comes to billable hours, the typical traditional legal law firm. But when I moved in, I decided to really change our business model. I wanted to shift over from having billable hours as our mindset. I felt that if we could streamline work by bringing in legal tools where we can automate tasks, we could allow staff to focus on cognitive functions. We gave staff the flexibility to generate ideas, to shorten their working hours, but we could still be just as efficient. We could still streamline workflow, but they'd have more time to sit in the boardrooms with us and actually make meaningful contributions. So I've switched over our business model where it allows for more legal tech to be implemented, but it also allows for more engaging conversation across all of the staff members, irrespective of any kind of hierarchy that someone would originally have because of qualifications. So these terms are really broad. Legal tech and this sort of AI as an implementation or tool to use, but these are really broad terms. Realistically, there's more trigger systems that we're using, and these systems help to remind us of what we need to do. It helps to automate tasks where typically we'd have a person manually completing it, and it's tech in that sort of way, where it's not just a system which completely manages itself. It's a hybrid system where it's the data we put in, it's how we engage with it, and then it learns about us and we learn about the system itself. Some of my achievements. So the first thing that I did is that I very quickly understood that I didn't really fit into the traditional schooling system, whether it was high school, tertiary education, and then going into my postgraduate qualifications, so law school. And when I realized that, I also picked up that there's lots of us who feel the same way. So I first started a mentorship and tutoring program. That was my initiative to help candidate attorneys complete their board examinations to qualify. And since I've done that, I've now managed to help about 300, leaning towards 400 law graduates so that they can pass their board examinations. That was the first thing which I feel is my first sort of achievement. The next is that I then got involved in leading presentations in how we actually implemented these legal tech tools in the company. I presented in Dubai last year at a legal tech conference, and at the conference I also submitted a proposal which we were required to do to outline our statistics in the company. And then based on our scoring, we then finished off as the leading law firm for the year in commercial finance litigation, which is what I specialize in. If I could just continue a little further, thereafter I published an article on legal tech and AI specifically within the South African terrain. It was published in the Jurisprudence magazine, and after that I was interviewed and I co-presented on a TV show called Gusto with GD, which is about business initiatives and how we can align our goals with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And then I featured in the magazine called Passion Vista. I was lucky enough to end up being on their cover, but they also did a cover story on me where I outlined my background, my dad's upbringing, my mom's upbringing, the things that inspire me, and the kind of achievements that we've managed to maintain and reach this far. And if I could just continue a little bit more, I also managed to lead, so in the firm, we have a commercial litigation department and we have stats generated on us. So 6 months last year, my stats were 100% month on month. So I was first in the country for our banking panels. And this year, from March till this month, every month I've managed to achieve 100% every single month, making me the first #1 attorney on their panel in KZN and in the country. I was very, very excited and really grateful that they did an assessment during my time in Sri Lanka in April at this global leadership conference. It was for Asia and Africa. And they have a list of women that they spotlighted. There was about 12 across the world. And they listed me as a woman leader to look up to for 2025. So I learned that with my mentorship program, I learned that in the law space specifically, there aren't many tutors or mentors that can actually assist you with preparing for your exams. And if they are, it's extremely expensive. So a lot of my work goes toward providing free services for the candidates. I also understand that as a candidate attorney, most of us didn't earn that much. So you're working on a low budget and minimal time after work to try and find a gap to study. So I work around the needs of the graduates. I run programs after work. I usually ran it every Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. And I ran programs every Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 to 1 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. And I ran it virtually. And the reason for that is because a lot of people have transportation issues and they often have to find a centralized hub or a central area in their region which would offer that kind of program. But it created difficulties. So I ran the programs virtually to allow more people to have access to it. And then I tried my best not to charge anyone for their time with me. And I centered my program based on how I would study. I wasn't someone that liked to read a lot. I didn't like loads and loads of paperwork, despite me being a lawyer. And I tried to make it very practical. I used lots of colors, lots of creative tools to try and help people to remember information. And then each time that I do run a program, I learn from it each time. The graduates often teach me things, and then I take that feedback and I feed it into my next program. The challenges that I've had along the way actually stemmed right back from school. In school, I very quickly realized that I didn't fit in. I was often bullied. And not just that, but being neurodivergent, I could not fit into learning the traditional ways that you're meant to study, the traditional methods that they have in schools. I stuck out. And I actually realized that sometimes forcing yourself to be in isolation forced me to push into more creative thinking, creative ways to find challenges and actually learn that it's an opportunity to learn about yourself, to learn about what you truly like, to learn about what your strengths really are. And so I actually took those sort of challenges of not fitting in, of not immediately being able to adapt to the typical teaching methods, to find my own way to learn. And that's actually why I started teaching graduates, because I learned that not all of us find it engaging or we're able to adapt to the typical traditional way of learning information. So that was the first challenge. And then I think when I moved into work, actually, if I just backtrack a little, in university, I think often I didn't present the way that a traditional lawyer is meant to look like. So I remember having 1 or 2 university lecturers pull me out of the lecture room and tell me, look, you're not made for law. You don't look like you're a lawyer. You're not made for this. And I actually remember the words quite clearly. It was that we know that a lot of Indian parents push you into doing accounting, engineering, or law, but you're not made for that. You look like you're meant to do social media marketing. Nothing wrong with marketing. I really love marketing, actually. But I took that and it actually hurt my feelings. But it challenged me. I was like, no, I still know what I want to do. And after that, I finished my law degree in any case, ended up finishing my board exams, qualifying as an attorney. Again, that was pushed into why I wanted to help graduates without them feeling judged or feeling like they need to learn or look a certain way. And then I moved into the workspace. And now, I think coming into the workspace, I quickly then learned that being in a boardroom, a lot of my points would go right over people's heads. And I would pitch an idea, and I would try so hard for them to get to invest in the idea or actually look into implementing what I'm saying. I believe there were implementation tools and practical tools and solutions that I was offering, but people thought I was just making an academic point or it was just cute to say. But I wasn't there to say nice sounding things. I actually had meaningful contributions which I believed would actually change or have an impact in the way we do business. So I learned that sometimes I have to repeat myself. Sometimes I have to say things a little bit louder. Sometimes I have to reiterate a point or gesture towards a male counterpart to just rehash what I'm saying, and I don't mind doing that if it means I can get my point across. The advice I would give to women following in my path or in this sort of path would be that often we try to look for a safe space to be heard, but that first starts with you listening to yourself. So if you constantly try to find inspiration or find what you want to be by looking at an external voice, you're often avoiding the inner voice within you that's trying to tell you what authenticity truly means to yourself. So I think developing that relationship with yourself and actually listening to what you want to do is the first step. So to create a safe space for yourself and then to be authentically yourself. There's no right way or there's no specific way that you're meant to look or there's nothing specific that you're meant to become by looking at others. If you have a vision, you should live out that vision in the way that you believe. And it's great to listen to others. It's great to read in or feed in their commentary or their feedback or their advice. But in the end, if you have a gut feeling about something, you should stick to it and commit to it and trust yourself. In the future, I would love to take my dad's firm and help it grow into an international space. I would love to be a mentor for more women where they feel that, look, I'm a South African girl, I'm from Durban, but my dreams aren't limited geographically. They aren't limited in any way, really. I have a vision and I believe that I can live it out. I want to be that kind of mentor for other people where they don't look at me, and I don't want to say that in a way that sounds egotistical, but they look at me and they think, look, she's being herself and she's living it out and she doesn't really care what other people are saying, and I want them to feel inspired to do exactly that for themselves. Finding balance is something I'm still learning. I have to say last year and even this year, there's times where there was no balance. There was no balance, and I felt myself burning out. But if it's something that I've learned, it's that you can have all these dreams and you can be highly ambitious, but if you don't focus on your health, you'll be forced to focus on your health, because when you start burning out and when your health takes a toll and you actually feel that dip, you're forced to stop whatever work you're doing and actually focus on that. And it's when I've gotten sick that I've realized, wow, I can have all of these goals and all of these really high functioning goals and things that I want to achieve, but if I'm not well, I can't do that. So I've had to find ways to focus on my mental health as well and my physical health. And often being in large crowds, big spaces, can be quite draining, taxing on you. So I found time to spend time on my own. Previously, isolating myself I thought was a negative, but now I actually look for moments where I can isolate myself, can recharge in that way, get in touch with nature. There's nothing fancy that you need to do. I don't try to go to like fancy things like a really fancy spa or anything like that, but even if it's just taking a walk on the promenade, just going for a hike, just sitting at home, having a conversation with my mom, all of these things help to recharge me and help me feel re-energized to go back into the day and start into that busy business life again.